The GTO was coming together quickly towards the end, but as you know, there's a very big difference between a car with a bunch of parts bolted to it and a tuned, running and driving, fully functioning vehicle. So we were kind of at that transition point. We had most of the parts put together, but we had yet to turn the key. So one of our major steps was getting the exhaust system in. We were using a set of Hooker GM A-body LS1 style changeover headers. Really, really nice pieces. A fairly long tube design. These were ceramic coated. They had a great looking polish. So these are the Hooker LS1 swap headers that we're doing our initial test fit on. But you're supposed to use the Hooker engine swap brackets to mount the engine in the car, and that's going to determine how well the headers fit. We're screwed. And of course, in our case, we didn't use those plates to mount the motor because we mounted the engine months before using a different system. So we knew we were going to have a little fitment issue. Well, it'll probably change once this is in its place. Right? If we used those Hooker plates, the headers would have fit, perfectly.
Maybe, yeah.
How about that?
Goodness.
We're
screwed.
We're far from screwed, my friend. So I didn't want to go through and remount the motor and our trans cross member and all that stuff. So we just, figured we'd have to do a little work to get the headers to fit the car properly. And it really wasn't that big of a deal. And then they kind of came close to the floor, so we had to make some transition pieces to take the end of the headers into our MagnaFlow exhaust kit. You see, the MagnaFlow stainless steel dual exhaust kit was also designed for the car, but the ends, they're not responsible for where your headers end up dumping into them. So between the two of them, we were able to connect the dots with fairly minimal headaches, but I would recommend on a changeover like this, use the engine mount plates that come with the headers, or seek out a system that has both, and that way you won't have to go through these little hoops that we had to jump through. The stick?
Yeah, it'll stay. Pretty certain.
Once we got it in, though, our exhaust system was killer. I mean, the stuff looked great, and we would learn eventually that it would sound real good. So onward to getting the actual engine started. Getting ready to actually start the engine meant we did a complete fluid fill. We put water in the radiator along with some royal purple ice radiator additive to help this thing stay cool. And then, of course, we filled up the engine with some royal purple synthetic motor oil, as well as some royal purple Max ATF synthetic transmission fluid, because we knew this car would be getting driven hard, and we wanted to make sure that it lived a nice, cool, long, happy life. We were hoping to just be able to turn the key and light this sucker off and go to town. Dear Lord,
please help us in this time of need.
We beg you to allow the crankshaft to stay within the confines of the block.
And put it out to catch fire.
Our oil pressure is lofty.
Our speed is 0.
Our fuel remains content in its containing system.
Our RPMs do go over 1,000.
Our combustion is complete.
We have 86-degree air temperature.
Our power generation is adequate for our needs.
Our air pod has been disconnected.
Our spent gases are exhausted safely.
I have no seat.
And all fire is prevented.
Which will stop.
Extinguished immediately should it occur. Amen.
Let's roll. My balls are sweaty.
Of course, we were hoping just to jump in the car and turn the key and go down the road. That's how it goes, right? Especially on TV. You turn the key, first time, boom, starts, done deal. Well, we all know that that's never what happens. Okay. Oh, good, nice. Don't do it again. Brett,
yes.
Check the oil, please. And we knew we were going to have some issues because everything was brand new and from different manufacturers. So we left the windshield out of the car, set up the laptop, plugged that into the Mast M-90 controller, and we had guys in the front of the car looking for leaks and guys in the back looking for leaks. And when we first pressurized the fuel system, we had a little fuel leak, so we tightened down a couple fittings, and these are the things you got to do. And then it was time to fire it off, and we cranked it and cranked it and cranked it. nothing happened. Why I stopped forsaking me. So lucky for us, the guys at Mast Motorsports were providing some just outstanding technical support, customer service.
Hey Kevin, what's happening?
I don't know. They spent the extra time to hang with us on the phone and try to diagnose this problem. And that process was pretty cool because as we had our L92 in the car, they had an L92 on an engine stand on a dyno in their own facility, and they were looking at the tune that we had. You know, we would email the tune up back and forth, and I'd flash the computer and make sure that, you know, there wasn't an error in the tune or if it got corrupted, you know, during the email or whatnot. So we had those guys, you know, the rocket scientists on their end, and then us, you know, on our end, trying to work out the bug. And after numerous tests, which were kind of interesting, we did things like, you know, we always tested for voltage and did test light tests, and we had starter cranking, and the computer was saying that you know, it should be ready to fire, and we pulled the fuel injectors out and ran an injector test where the software allows you to fire each injector individually to make sure that those were all squirting fuel. We had fuel. I just couldn't get it to run. And the reason why was because when I wired up the ignition switch, for whatever reason, the 66 GTO factory ignition switch, when you turn the key all the way to the start position, the way I had it wired, it was cutting power to the ECM, and it wasn't firing the coil. So it was my fault. It took a little while to figure it out, but we found it. So to bypass that, we put a push button start in. You know, we thought, hey, it'd be kind of cool. So now the key was for security. Turn the key on, and then, you know, make sure you're in park, hit the start button. And when we did that, the thing lit right off. It ran real smooth, it idled nice, the MagnaFlow sounded really, really nice. We had great oil pressure. I mean, it was a GM assembled engine with 8 miles on it, or 9, something like that. So it was brand new and sounded great. So once we got it running, we warmed it up to make sure that you know, we didn't have any leaks and all that kind of stuff, and revved it up a few times on the lift, and we were just happy as could be. I mean, it was a relief to finally hear this thing come to life.